Okay, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're unpacking a literal game changer in the business world, the history of ESG. We'll trace exactly how doing good evolved from basic corporate philanthropy all the way to the rigorous, data-driven investing landscape we see today. So, is a company's only job to make a profit? Well, for decades, the global business world operated on that exact premise. Maximizing shareholder value was basically the sole purpose of a corporation. But as industries grew and globalized at lightning speed, we collectively had to ask ourselves a tough question. Is chasing pure profit, while completely ignoring the surrounding context, actually sustainable over the long haul? Turns out, not so much. A strict profit-only focus acted as a catalyst for some pretty severe global consequences. Unchecked industrial growth fueled massive pollution, accelerated climate change, and sparked widespread labor crises. The sheer scale of these negative impacts couldn't be ignored forever. Ultimately, these environmental and social crises forced a massive shift in investor expectations, because investors realized that destroying the planet or exploiting workers carries an existential, long-term financial risk. That realization brings us to the business world's first major awakening back in the 1950s, corporate social responsibility, or CSR. Think of this as the era of the benevolent company, donating to local charities, building company towns, sponsoring a little league team. It was a solid early ethical concept focused on community and employee welfare. But, and this is a big but, it was largely voluntary and kept totally separate from the core business strategy. Doing good was just a side project. Fast forward to 1994, and the fundamental math of business started to change. A guy named John Elkington introduced a really revolutionary concept called the triple bottom line. He argued that looking at financial profit alone was completely inadequate for measuring a company's true value in a rapidly changing world. The traditional accounting ledger literally needed a major upgrade. The triple bottom line suggests that true corporate success must be evaluated across three equal slices: people, the planet, and profit. So instead of just a financial bottom line, businesses now had a social and environmental bottom line to account for. This was a massive conceptual leap. It shifted the conversation from simply giving to charity to actually integrating social and environmental impact directly into how a business measures its own success. Taking a look at the timeline, you can see how this idea spread like wildfire. We go from 1950 CSR to the 1994 triple bottom line, and then things speed up. We hit the year 2000 with the UN Global Compact, followed by the PRI in 2006, the UN Sustainable Development Goals in 2015, all the way to 2021 and beyond with strict reporting regulations like the ISSB and CSRED. The acceleration is just staggering. Now here is where it gets really interesting. We have to distinguish between two massive UN initiatives. The year 2000 UN Global Compact laid down vital ethical rules, focusing on human rights, fair labor, the environment, and anti-corruption. Great stuff, right? But the real tipping point came in 2006 with the UNPRI, or the Principles for Responsible Investment. This officially turned those ethical guidelines into hard investment decisions. Investors were now formally agreeing to look at these factors before handing over their capital. That specific shift in 2006 gave birth to modern ESG. It moved us away from abstract corporate goodness and solidified environmental, social, and governance as non-negotiable pillars. We're talking about transitioning from basic footprint mitigation to comprehensive risk assessments. Investors began rigorously evaluating climate resiliency under the environmental pillar, supply chain equity under the social pillar, and things like board diversity under governance. To see how this plays out in the real world, let's look at Microsoft. Under the old profit-only model, a tech giant would just focus on selling software and minimizing overhead. Today, Microsoft's ESG strategy has them actively working to be carbon negative. That means they actually aim to remove more carbon from the atmosphere than they emit. At the same time, they're heavily driving diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives, backed by incredibly strong corporate governance. They know that excelling here isn't just good PR. It is absolutely crucial to their future profitability. So, the primary takeaway from our explainer today is that ESG evolved from CSR to a strategic framework. I really want to emphasize this. It wasn't a sudden overnight trend. Actually, it was a totally necessary, logical evolution. We moved from businesses occasionally writing a charity check to implementing a highly strategic, measurable framework that dictates exactly how a business survives and secures funding today. All right, let's do a quick rapid-fire quiz to lock this in. CSR? That gave us the conscience in the 1950s. The triple bottom line gave us some math in 94. The UN Global Compact set the global rules in 2000. The PRI brought the money and enforcement in 2006. And that leaves us with the ESG pillars dominating today's markets. When you step back and look at the whole progression, it makes perfect sense. As consumer and investor demands continue to rapidly evolve, I want to leave you with this thought. Is ESG just a framework or the new baseline for all future survival? As global regulations tighten, we have to wonder if these pillars are just a temporary corporate structure or the undeniable key to our global economic future. Take a second to think about how the companies you buy from and the funds you invest in are answering that very question.